Hi, welcome to Insurance Billing Basics. I'm Jill Shook. I'm a speech-language pathologist in private practice in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. When I started my practice, I went through the decision-making process of deciding if I wanted to accept insurance, so I thought I would give you some basic information so that you too could decide if you would like to accept insurance or not. It seems like a very complicated process, and it can be, but it's also pretty simple if you get right down to it. The first thing that you want to know is some of the basic vocabulary. Being speech pathologists, we have a lot of abbreviations, and billing is no different, so we'll go over some of the basic vocabulary. You'll have to learn about EMRs or EHRs. You'll hear that a lot. Those are electronic medical records, electronic health records. They're basically the same thing. That's where you'll store all of the information for your clients. It'll have their patient information, it will have your documentation. You can also usually communicate with your clients in a secure and HIPAA-compliant manner. Next, you'll have to know about ERAs, which are electronic remittance advice. That means the online information that you will get from the insurance company about the bill or about the EOB, which is the explanation of benefits. So an ERA is basically the online version of an EOB. EOBs are usually paper and they will send those to you, so you can save some trees and have them do an ERA for you. You'll need to know what a claim is. So a claim is basically the information that you're sending to the insurance company about what you're billing for. So if you have, a session with the client, you will send that information to the insurance company and they will pay for it, is how you hope it works. There's also superbill, and you'll hear invoice. In general, people throw those around as meaning the same thing, and they kind of are. A claim is just basically, here's the invoice, insurance company, of what I did, and then you can pay me per the contract that you have with that patient. A claim is that, and then a superbill is what you can submit to an insurance company when you are not an in-network provider with them. So it's basically a receipt that the client can submit saying, this is work that I had done, I paid for it out of pocket, and now insurance company, I would like you to reimburse me for that. So that's what a superbill is. And you can also hear the word invoice for superbill, but we like to use the word superbill because invoice can be really anything. I mean, you can get an invoice for dinner. You could get an invoice for something you buy online. Superbill is really what you want to use if you're talking about that out-of-network claim. Next, you'll have to know about clearinghouses. Those are basically intermediaries between you and the insurance company. They check claims for accuracy and they let you know if anything needs to change before it gets sent on to the insurance company. They're a middleman, but they're required, and they are what you will basically submit your claim to so that it can be then given to the insurance company. So now that you know the basic vocabulary, you can get into the process of billing. And in order to bill, you have to be credentialed with an insurance company. Credentialing is just the process by which the insurance company decides if you are approved to be a provider with them. So it's kind of like applying for a job. You send in a resume, which for you is on what's called CAQH ProView. When you set up your CAQH ProView account, you'll need some basic information about your business. You'll need your business name, obviously. You'll need your name, your ASHA number, your state license number, your EIN. That's basically your social security number, but it's for your business because you don't want to be sending your social security number to everyone. You can apply for that via the IRS, and it's free and takes about 5 minutes. You'll also need your MPI, your National Provider Identifier, and the information about your professional liability insurance. They're basically checking if you're in good standing with all of the licensure requirements that you have, and also that you have, professional liability insurance were anything to happen. Then you'll fill out provider information forms for whichever insurance companies you'd like to work with. The insurance companies will take that information that you fill out in your form and then also in CAQH ProView and decide if they're going to allow you to become a provider. They decide that based on varying factors. That includes how many providers are already in your area, and then also, if they need providers in a certain specialty or not. In 30 to 60 days, you can find out if you have been credentialed by the insurance companies. So after you get the happy information that you have been accepted to be a provider with the insurance company that you'd like, what you want to do is check the contract that they will send you to see what their fee schedule is. Now, most insurance companies will give you that fee schedule after they have approved your becoming a provider before you have signed your contract, because you want to know what their fee schedule is, what they would pay you, what the rates are, before you decide officially to become a provider. Some of them do allow you to look up a fee schedule on their website without having to become a provider, but in general, you'll have to go through their kind of provider credentialing process in order to see that information. So you'll take a look at the information. You'll say, do I like these rates? Do I think that these are workable? And then if you do, you can go ahead and accept the contract, and then you'll be a provider with that insurance company. Now, being a provider with them means you have to abide by their contracts. So you definitely want to make sure you look at your contract, see what requirements they have. Some of them can have varying requirements, such as CPT code, hourly requirements. As you know, most of our codes are not timed. Like 92507, just general therapy, is not timed. However, some insurance companies require that you have an hour-long session to bill that. Make sure you look at that so that you're not fraudulently billing. Say if you have a 30-minute session and you bill that code, that would be fraudulently billing for them. You also want to make sure that you understand how to check eligibility for the insurance companies. In general, you'll use the clearinghouse like we talked about earlier, but some insurance companies have specific clearinghouses, specific requirements, so you'll want to look at that to make sure you understand exactly what each insurance company requires. So after you have become a provider, you've been credentialed, you become a provider, now you have a client. They call you and say, hey, I have this insurance. And you say, great, I take this insurance. There's some information that you'll want to get from the patient so that you can verify their benefits and make sure that, yes, you take their insurance, but does this insurance actually cover what they're wanting to come to you for? So you'll want to get their insurance number, you'll want to get their date of birth, and you'll want to get their address and phone number as well. So after you get the information from your client, you'll want to input that into your EMR or the clearinghouse that the insurance has required. You'll put their membership ID in there, you'll put their date of birth, and that will give you their benefits. You'll look at the benefits, you'll see what their deductible is, so how much they have to pay out of pocket each year before insurance will start covering things. You also want to look for any speech therapy requirements. So for instance, a lot of my clients have come in and they only get a certain number of sessions per year. So sometimes that's 10, sometimes that's 20, sometimes that's 50, it can be any number. But you want to look and see if there are any hard caps on the number of sessions, because in general, regardless of how much you beg and plead with whatever insurance company, they're not going to approve any more sessions if that person only has a certain number of sessions per year. Once you see their deductible, you also want to check for any co-pays or co-insurance that they might have for specialist visits, which are you going to see a speech therapist. Co-insurance is a percentage of the rate that they would have to pay. So to make the numbers easy, because I'm not a math major, say your rate would be $100 for a session. The co-insurance would be, say, 10% of that. So for each session, the client would have to pay $10. So that would be their 10% co-insurance. And then the insurance would pay the $90 remnant of that. So that would be co-insurance. If you're looking at a co-payment is a flat fee. So that'll be a certain amount for, any visit that the client goes to. So you would look for a co-payment for speech, and if that was, say, $20, then every time the client sees you, they have to give you $20, and that will be the flat rate that they have. So when you look up the insurance information for the client, make sure you check their deductible, check for any co-insurance or co-payments, and then check for any session limits. Make sure you have all that information before you start therapy, and also share that information with the client to make sure that you guys are on the same page about your understanding of their benefits. You don't want to call them and they'll tell you, oh, I have speech therapy benefits. Well, yeah, they might, but do they only have 10 a year? That might not be what they wanted. So definitely look into that and make sure you guys are on the same page before you start therapy. I know it seems like a lot of, you have the client call you, they say they want therapy. You check their benefits either on the phone or you look on your EMR or the clearinghouse, and then you have to get back to the client and make sure that you guys connect and talk about what their benefits are to make sure you're on the same page. But you do this ahead of time. You don't have to worry about later having an issue where they didn't understand their benefits, or they thought they had more sessions, or they didn't know they were going to have to pay a copay or a coinsurance. You want to make sure everything is laid out before you start therapy so that there aren't any surprises. After you've seen your client, you can go ahead and get your claim ready to submit. So in SimplePractice, it's really easy. That's why I really like using it. All you do is you go to the billing section and you select a date range, and then you can create a claim from that. They're called the CMS 1500 claim, and CMS is just Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. It's just the claim form that has all of the information that you will need to submit to the insurance company. The basic information that you'll need is, of course, the client's name, their insurance information, your MPI number, the location at which the services were provided. There are location codes that you would use to denote where you've seen your client. For instance, if you saw them via telehealth, it would be a 2. If you saw them at an office, it would be 11. If you saw them at their home, it would be 12. Make sure that those place of service codes are correct. Make sure that all the CPT codes are correct, so that's telling the insurance company what you actually did. That's the procedures that you did. So make sure that the ICD-10 codes, your diagnosis codes, are correct, because on the form they won't have periods in them. So F80.0 would just be F800. So make sure that those are correct, or it'll get kicked back to you as incorrect. You'll also have the rendering provider's MPI number, and rendering just means the person who provided the service. So if you're a single member or solo practice, that's pretty easy. That's you. You'll use your individual MPI number. At the bottom of the form, you'll also have the facility information, and you'll have your facility MPI number, your type 2 or group MPI number there. So after you've created that claim and double-checked it for accuracy, you'll go ahead and submit it, and then that claim will be sent through to the clearinghouse, which, as we discussed before, the clearinghouse is kind of where claims go to be double-checked and made sure that everything is correct. And if the claim gets denied, the clearinghouse will kick it back to you and say, this is the reason code for it. This is what you need to fix. So you want to keep the timely filing requirements in mind while you're filing your claims. Many companies allow you 365 days from the date of service in which to file the claim. Most clients are not going to appreciate getting a claim from 6 months or a year ago. Also, you have to make sure that you've checked your contract, because some companies do give you only 90 days in which to file the claim from the date of service. In general, if you do a weekly filing or at the very least a monthly filing, you should be well within the timely filing requirements for your claims. So if you have to resubmit, it's not the end of the world. All you'll need to do is hit Edit to Resubmit. SimplePractice makes that really easy. You just click Edit to Resubmit. And then in box 22, you'll put either 7 to resubmit the claim, or you'll put 8 to void the original claim. And you'll have to submit a new one. So you want to make sure that those resubmission codes are there, or that can really mess up all of your submissions. So that's the basics of insurance billing. If you have more questions or want more information, there are some great resources linked below.